The sky darkened, and heavy rain poured down. An elderly woman crouched under the eaves of the police station, puffing on her old pipe, the cuffs of her pants and her shoes caked in yellow mud. Raindrops clung to the aged spots on her face, and she looked like a shriveled squash huddled against the wall. "Aunt Chi, come inside and have some water. It might take a while with rain like this." A young police officer, Xiao Fa, called out from the window, her voice bright and clear. Aunt Chi shook her head, staring fixedly at the entrance. Xiao Fa pouted, staring at the back of Aunt Chi's head in a daze. She'd only been assigned to this station at the start of the year and hadn't been happy about it. This small town was remote and desolate, with only 2 or 3 buses to the county each day, and not even a place to catch a movie. Aside from her and the captain, Aunt Chi was the station's most frequent visitor. "Go home, Auntie. Your daughter's not here," the captain always said, holding out a pack of cigarettes from his pocket. Aunt Chi just shook her head, silently puffing on her long pipe. Aunt Chi was a midwife, known to cure minor ailments too. If someone in the village wasn't feeling well, they'd call the village head. And then the village head would holler at her door, "Chi family, you've got a job." It was said that Aunt Chi's husband had passed away early, leaving her a single daughter. She cherished that daughter for 18 years. The summer after high school graduation, Aunt Chi's daughter went to school to collect her college acceptance letter. "Mom, tonight I want dumplings with chives and eggs." "Easy as pie," Aunt Chi had said, watching her daughter walk out of the village before heading to the backyard to cut a basket of fresh chives and grab some still warm eggs from the coop. She waited all day, from high noon until the stars appeared. The village head had been in the middle of a dream when he was jolted awake by banging on his door. "Who's there? Are you here to catch ghosts or something?" he shouted, cursing as he threw on some clothes and went to the door. A dark figure shot inside, grabbing his arm tightly. "You, Chi family woman, what?" The village head froze, startled. He was about to scold her but thought better of it. In the bright moonlight, he steadied the ghostly woman before him. "What's happened?" Aunt Chi's daughter had gone missing. As the village head dialed the police, he kept glancing at Aunt Chi crouched by the door. "Yes, a young woman from our village is missing." "When?" "She left this noon and hasn't returned since." Uh-huh. When he hung up, he met Aunt Chi's gaze, scratching his head. "They said it hasn't been 24 hours yet, so..." "Hey, where are you going?" Ignoring his calls, Aunt Chi's figure stumbled off, disappearing down the village path. It was a 30-mile walk from the village to the county. Aunt Chi walked it all the way to the police station door. At dawn, the captain pedaled up on his bicycle, an oil-soaked bun between his teeth, only to have Aunt Chi drop to her knees in front of him. The captain was so shocked his mouth fell open, the bun dropping to the ground. Xiao Fa heard from the captain that Aunt Chi's daughter had last been seen at school. She'd picked up her letter, chatted with teachers and classmates, then said she was heading home for chive and egg dumplings and left. The police had scoured every inch of the path from the school to the village, but found nothing. It's been 5 years. Aunt Chi still visits the station every few days to ask if there's news, always hearing the same answer, nothing. After all these years, it's hard to tell if she's dead or alive, the captain muttered, half closing his eyes as he lit a cigarette. Xiao Fa didn't know if he was talking about Aunt Chi or her lost daughter. Just then, a car horn sounded at the station's entrance, a cheerful beep-beep. Aunt Chi's eyes, usually dull, flickered with a glimmer of hope. She steadied herself against the wall, gazing expectantly at the door. A skinny girl in a plastic raincoat was led inside by an officer. "What took you so long?" "We've been waiting ages," the captain said, gesturing toward Aunt Chi huddled outside the door. The rain was heavy. "There were 2 accidents on the way," explained Lu Tong, the officer who'd brought the girl in. Xiao Fa recognized him. The captain said he was the officer assigned to Aunt Chi's daughter's case back then, hounded so relentlessly by Aunt Chi that he avoided the main entrance. Every day, he climbed over the station's side wall to come and go until he finally transferred to the city station. He got some peace then, and left all the mess for me to clean up, the captain often grumbled. But whenever he saw Lu Tong, he still greeted him warmly. Xiao Fei figured it was probably because Lu Tong's father had a well-placed government job, while the captain's father was a lifetime farmer. Lu Tong pulled the raincoat off the girl beside him and called Aunt Chi in. "Come, take a look. Is this her?" The girl, head bowed and hair dripping, shyly lifted her face to glance at the people inside, then quickly dropped her head again, twisting her shirt hem nervously. "Come on, hurry up," Lu Tong urged impatiently. "She's 23, right age, matching accent. Her nickname's Xiaodi. No father, grew up with her mother, same as your daughter." He nudged the girl, saying, "You go, take a look too. Is this your mother?" Aunt Chi trembled as she took the girl's hand. "Xiaodi? Your name is Xiaodi." The girl looked up, trying to pull her hand away. Lu Tong mumbled, clutching his stomach, "I'm chilled to the bone. Need the restroom now." "Xiao Fei, keep an eye on them," he added as he led the captain to the public restroom, since the station's was under repair for leaks. Xiaodi, Aunt Chi's voice quivered. Xiao Fei decided to get her a cup of warm water, only to find the water cooler empty. She went to the backyard to grab another bottle. When she returned, both Aunt Chi and the girl were gone. Lately, Xiao Fei often visits Aunt Chi's place. Passing by the village chief's house, the chief would poke his head out of the door. "Comrade Fei, here again?" "Yeah, here again." Xiao Fei wasn't keen to come, but there was no choice. Lu Tong and the station chief found out she'd lost Aunt Chi and gave her a thorough scolding. Lu Tong said, "Just because she says it's her daughter doesn't make it her daughter. There's a process for everything, right? The person was brought here to the station, so you're responsible for tying up the loose ends." The chief said, "You can't even keep an eye on one person. Don't know anything about what's going on. Go get her to bring the person back." "Aunt Chi, even if she is your daughter, you can't just take her home as you please. There's a process for everything, you know." At Aunt Chi's, Xiao Fei repeated Lu Tong and the chief's words. But no matter how much Xiao Fei tried to persuade, Aunt Chi would just repeat, "I know my daughter. You all stay out of it." "You're being unreasonable." Xiao Fei stormed out in frustration. Aunt Chi's case was like a hot potato. Lu Tong passed it to the chief, and the chief threw it to her. They both washed their hands of it, while she had to bear the brunt if anything went wrong. Aunt Chi was as stubborn as a mule. Whenever she found someone with the same name as her daughter, she'd take them home. Out of the millions of people in China, all those with the same name were her daughters? The more Xiao Fei thought about it, the angrier she got, feeling like she was caught in the middle. If she couldn't bring the person back, she'd be answerable to the chief, but if she forced the girl to return, she couldn't bear Aunt Chi's sorrowful gaze or the villagers' gossip. So, the issue dragged on. 3 or 4 months passed, and Aunt Chi stopped going to the police station, but Xiao Fei began checking in at Aunt Chi's house every few days. This day, Xiao Fei prepared a list of things to say, but, upon entering the courtyard, saw Aunt Chi hurriedly boiling water in the kitchen. "Aunt Chi, about Xiaodi, I think," before Xiao Fei could finish, Aunt Chi pushed her aside. Holding back her irritation, Xiao Fei followed Aunt Chi inside, only to see a woman on the bed, disheveled and in pain, bare from the waist down. "Oh my!" Xiao Fei nearly jumped back in shock. "Close the door," Aunt Chi barked. Then Xiao Fei noticed the woman on the bed was Zhao Di, her head tilted back in pain. She was giving birth. It was the first time Xiao Fei had seen such a gory scene, and her knees almost went weak. "Get out, close the door." Aunt Chi's harsh command snapped her out of it. Xiao Fei quickly closed the door and waited outside the courtyard. Back at the station, she hadn't noticed Zhao Di was pregnant due to the cover of a large raincoat. All the time she visited Aunt Chi's, Zhao Di had always hidden from her, and she'd never paid attention to Zhao Di's body shape. Now, under her watch, someone with no clear identity was giving birth to a child with no clear identity. Xiao Fei had a sinking feeling this job was not going to end well. From inside came a sound like a little puppy's whimper. Xiao Fei peeked in and saw Aunt Qi holding a tiny, swaddled bundle. Wow, all wrinkled up. Xiao Fei looked closer. The baby was ugly, wrinkling its face as it smacked its lips. A rare softness spread across Aunt Qi's face as she hummed. Newborns all look like this. A few days and it'll be fine, right, Xiao Tsong? Xiao Tsong? As in spring onions. Xiao Fei couldn't help but mock the name Aunt Qi had given the child. Why isn't it crying? Xiao Fei recalled how in TV dramas, babies always cried loudly when they were born. Not every baby cries. This one takes after her mother. When I gave birth to Zhao Di, she didn't cry a peep either. Aunt Qi glanced at the exhausted woman on the bed, then shoved the baby into Xiao Fei's arms, saying, "Hold this for a moment," before going out. I can't. Xiao Fei held the bundle, completely clueless. Thankfully, Aunt Qi returned soon, carrying 2 hens into the kitchen. That night, Xiao Fei reported everything to the chief as it happened. As she expected, the chief gave her another scolding, then bickered with Lu Tong over the phone, passing the blame. From the way the chief looked at her, Xiao Fei figured she might as well pack her bags and head home. That night, lying in her dorm bed, Xiao Fei found herself thinking of that soft little creature from the day and of Aunt Qi. The next morning, Xiao Fei went to the market, bought 2 boxes of milk and 10 pounds of eggs, and headed for Aunt Qi's. As she passed by the village chief's house, he stopped her. "Comrade Fei, here again?" Xiao Fei wasn't in the mood for small talk, and kept walking. "Comrade Fei, the person's gone. No need to go." The chief's words confused Xiao Fei. "Who's gone?" "Zhao Di, that girl." The chief said that last night, 2 cars had come to take the girl away. Before getting into the car, the girl knelt at Aunt Qi's door and kowtowed heavily. Aunt Qi's place was eerily quiet, the stove area littered with feathers, and a single drumstick sat in a bowl on the windowsill. Xiao Fei knocked softly and pushed the door, which was left ajar, to find Aunt Qi sitting cross-legged on the bed, cradling that wrinkly little thing in her arms, softly singing a lullaby. "Rock-a-bye, rock-a-bye," rocking to Grandma's bridge. When the boat reaches Grandma's bridge, Grandma says, "My good baby, here's a cake for you." Xiao Fei never did end up going back home, and Aunt Qi never showed up at the police station to wait anymore. Every now and then, the station chief would bring up the incident in passing. That whole thing is pretty obvious in hindsight. That young woman was probably trafficked, got pregnant, couldn't go home, and made up a story to the police. By a twist of fate, Aunt Qi took her in, cared for her, then she had her baby, and left to live her own life. Poor Aunt Qi. It's a sad story. Xiao Fei didn't comment on the chief's take. She would still visit Aunt Qi whenever she could. Little Onion grew fast. She went from a wrinkly little bundle to a lively, adorable girl, running all over the place. "Grandma Candy?" Little Onion ran into the kitchen, holding up a lollipop. Seeing Xiao Fei at the door, Aunt Qi popped the lollipop into Little Onion's mouth. "Go ahead, have some." A pot of fish stew simmered on the stove as Aunt Qi tasted it carefully. Xiao Fei sat on a small stool by the door. "Auntie, Little Onion is almost 3 now. It's about time to start thinking about kindergarten. Have you thought about her household registration?" Aunt Qi hesitated. "She's not going to kindergarten. But what about elementary school? And junior high, high school, she'll need it to attend school eventually," Xiao Fei said patiently. Aunt Qi was silent. The stew bubbled, and she sprinkled in some scallions. Then she turned to Xiao Fei and asked, "Officer Fei, why don't you stay for fish tonight?" Xiao Fei just shook her head and left. The issue of Little Onion's household registration nagged at Xiao Fei. The station chief, on the other hand, just wanted a quiet, uneventful retirement. "We got plenty of unregistered kids in the county's villages," he'd say when she brought it up. "How come you're not on their case?" The chief was right in a way. Many villagers had unregistered children because they couldn't pay the fines for having extra kids. Xiao Fei would glare at his retreating figure, muttering to herself, "Someday, I'll do something about it." Half a year later, Xiao Fei ran into the village head at the bank while doing some business. "Officer Fa, what a coincidence." The village head smiled, rubbing his hands together. Behind him stood two boys with runny noses, likely his sons. "Running errands in town?" Xiao Fei asked. Nothing serious. These two little rascals won't shut up about getting a gaming console. Brought them here to buy one." He gave each boy a light smack on the back of the head. Oh. Every time she ran into this overly friendly village head, Xiao Fei just wanted to end the conversation as quickly as possible. "You know, Officer Fa, it's been a while since you've come by our village." The village head lingered, as if he wasn't ready to say goodbye yet. "Yeah, I've been busy," she said, subtly hinting that he should get on with his day. He nodded, as if understanding. Of course. But hey, Officer Fa, did you hear about Little Onion?" Seeing the confused look on her face, he smirked, sensing he was the bearer of news. Little Onion was taken away. Oh, she was crying like you wouldn't believe, clutching Aunt Chi's hand. I almost couldn't bear it myself. He even looked teary-eyed. That weekend, Xiao Fei visited Aunt Chi's home. Just as she reached the village entrance, she saw Aunt Chi sitting by a dry well, staring blankly at the road that led to the city. "Auntie, what are you doing out here?" Xiao Fei walked up and noticed that Aunt Chi was holding a small toy chicken in her hand, Little Onion's favorite. Aunt Chi shook her head, her gaze fixed on the winding road. It was as if Xiao Fei was looking at the Aunt Chi from years ago, squatting by the police station with a blank, weary expression, her wrinkled face full of unspoken sorrow. Little Onion had been taken away by Lu Wen, the woman Xiao Fei had known as Zhaodi. The village head had filled Xiao Fei in, recounting how Lu Wen had knelt at Aunt Chi's door, her head hitting the ground as she begged, "Please, give me my child back. She's my daughter." In the same place, she had once knelt to leave her child behind, and now, she knelt to take her back. Aunt Chi stood behind the door, watching, then finally pushed Little Onion toward her birth mother. "Grandma!" Little Onion cried out. "Grandma, I want Grandma!" When Little Onion was placed in the car, Lu Wen tried to enter the house, but Aunt Chi blocked the way. Lu Wen hesitated, then placed an envelope on the doorstep. "It's not much, but I hope you don't mind." "Lu Wen," Aunt Chi called as Lu Wen turned to leave, her eyes fixed on Little Onion reaching out for her from the car. "She's afraid of the dark. She needs someone with her at night. She can't eat spicy food and needs a bowl of millet porridge each night, not too thick." "Are you done? Let's go already." The person in the car was urging her. "My name is Lu Wen," was all Aunt Chi heard as Lu Wen carried her crying daughter away, shouting tearfully, "Thank you, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry." After listening to the village head's recounting, Xiao Fei felt an ache in her heart. Aunt Chi had been such a headache for her, yet now she was overwhelmed with sympathy. "Auntie," she asked, "when you took Zhaodi in, did you really see her as your daughter?" A mother knows her own child. Aunt Chi looked down at the toy chicken in her hand. If I hadn't taken her in, she would have had no place to go. If her family had known what happened, she would have been too ashamed to show her face. Lu Wen had run away from home after a fight with her family over a boyfriend who abandoned her when she became pregnant. Broke, without an ID, and too ashamed to go back, she ended up wandering the streets until the police questioned her. Fearing the police might send her back home, she fumbled her way through an accent she'd picked up from her boyfriend's hometown, claiming her name was Zhaodi. By chance, she ended up here, taken in by Aunt Chi, who treated her like her own daughter. She may not be my Zhaodi, but she's someone's Zhaodi. When I think about my own daughter out there who knows what she's going through, I couldn't let her suffer. She said she had nowhere to go. I looked at her with that big belly and asked if she wanted to come home with me. She said yes. After bringing Lu Wen home, Aunt Chi took care of her attentively, though she noticed Lu Wen often touched her belly and cried. Aunt Chi knew everyone wanted to go back to their own home. She even took her to the village head's house so she could call her family to at least let them know she was safe. Aunt Chi stood in the courtyard listening as Lu Wen sobbed into the phone. Mom, Mom. The village head had tried to offer Aunt Chi a cigarette, only to be refused. I quit, it's not good for the baby, she'd said. She's not even your real daughter, he laughed. Why bother? Flesh and blood. That unbreakable bond. Lu Wen's family came to take her home the night she gave birth. Staring at her sleeping newborn, she told Aunt Chi, Mom, I don't want to leave her, but I can't take her with me. You called me, Mom, so I won't turn my back on my granddaughter, Aunt Chi had said, placing a bowl of freshly boiled dumplings in front of her. Eat before you go. They're filled with chives and egg, just like my Zhaodi's favorite. Golden fried egg, tender chives, tiny shrimp, and a dash of pork fat for flavor. Eat up, my girl. No matter who you are, no matter what you've been through, live well. Because there will always be a mother waiting for you to come home. Why don't you go back to the police station to wait for Zhaodi anymore, Auntie? Xiao Fa asked. I am waiting. It doesn't matter where I wait. Those who come home, they'll return someday. Aunt Chi stood up, massaging her sore legs as she started toward home. Xiao Fa noticed how Aunt Chi had aged, her back hunched, more strands of gray in her hair. Oh, time, slow down a bit, she thought, for those still waiting in place for their loved ones to come home. 10 years passed in the blink of an eye. Xiaofa got married, had a child, and then divorced, now raising her daughter Tangdang on her own. Mom, I want some dumplings made by Grandma Chi. Tangdang, who usually ate in the cafeteria with Xiaofa, constantly found excuses to visit Aunt Chi's house. All right, how about we visit Grandma Chi this weekend? Xiaofa's words made Tangdang cheer with joy. On Saturday, Xiaofa and Tangdang went to Aunt Chi's house. Tangdang played inside, while Xiaofa helped in the kitchen. I've checked, but all the women we found are from out of town, and none of them match the age, Xiaofa whispered as she kneaded the dough. She glanced at Aunt Chi, whose expression remained calm, and then continued. Next month, I'll be traveling out of town for work. I've contacted the local police there. They'll... Officer Fa, Aunt Chi interrupted. Thank you for not giving up on my case all these years. When Zhaodi comes home, I'll personally take her to present you with a banner of gratitude. Auntie, Tangtang has eaten so many of your dumplings. There's no need to thank me. Xiaofa joked, shifting the conversation to a lighter topic. Aunt Chi heated oil in the pan and poured in the beaten eggs. The delicious aroma wafted through the kitchen, prompting an excited shout from Tangdang. It smells amazing. Grandma Chi's cooking is the best. Xiaofa saw Aunt Chi smile. Over the past decade, Xiaofa had grown older, become a mother, and experienced the highs and lows of life. Chatting with young police officers now, she had a weary tone as if she'd already seen it all. The police chief had also aged, now counting down the days to retirement, looking forward to taking care of his grandson. Only Aunt Chi remained the same woman who made dumplings, waiting at the village entrance, eyes glued to the road, longing for her daughter's return. She hadn't yielded an inch to life's hardships. The dumplings were served, and Tangdang ate ravenously. Slow down. Where are your manners? Xiaofa said, wiping Tangtang's mouth while taking a bite. Grandma Chi, Mom's scolding me again. Tangdang ducked into Aunt Chi's embrace. At 7, Tangdang was already attuned to others' moods. She knew Aunt Chi had a soft heart, so whenever Xiaofa turned stern, she would hide behind Aunt Chi, leaving Xiaofa helpless. After dinner, Xiaofa went to wash the dishes while Aunt Chi lulled Tangdang to sleep. Worrying about matters at the station, Xiaofa wanted to drop Tangdang home and return to the precinct afterward. Just as she reached the door, Xiaofa caught sight of Aunt Chi gently patting Tangtang's back. Rockabye, rockabye, to Grandma's house. By now, Xiaotsong would be 13 or 14 years old. Xiaofa wondered if she still remembered that someone here loved her and once sang lullabies for her. Aunt Chi never mentioned Xiaotsong, but Xiaofa knew she always held her in her heart. In Aunt Chi's bedroom, there was a locked box filled with Xiaotsong's shoes, clothes, and toys. The things we once loved can remind us of those we've lost, but sometimes we can't bear to look at them. Xiaofa put a bag of green beans and tomatoes in the trunk. Tangding leaned against the car window and waved goodbye to Aunt Qi. "Auntie, we'll come visit you again soon." Xiaofa started the car. "Bye, Grandma Qi." Tangding held Aunt Qi's hand as they said goodbye. Aunt Qi patted Tongtong's head, standing under the pear tree at the gate, watching as Xiaofa drove away. "Mom, Grandma Qi is sick." Tangding leaned forward from the back seat, creeping up next to Xiaofa. "Sit back and buckle your seatbelt," Xiaofa said, her tone serious. Tangding obediently sat back. The narrow country road was suddenly obstructed by a large jeep speeding toward them. Grandma Qi coughed up blood. "She thought I was asleep, so she didn't know I saw." Tongtong's voice trailed off as Xiaofa swerved to avoid the jeep. The car swerved dangerously, nearly veering off the road into a ditch. Tangding hit her head against the window, rubbing her forehead in a daze. Xiaofa knew Aunt Qi's health was deteriorating. She was getting old, inevitably burdened with ailments. But she hadn't thought much about it. But Tongtong's mention of blood had left Xiaofa momentarily shaken, and coupled with the reckless jeep swerving past, she'd nearly gotten into an accident. As the jeep sped off, the passenger stuck out a tattooed hand, flipping her off. "Tangding, are you okay?" Xiaofa pulled her daughter close, comforting her gently. Tangding, ever resilient, shook her head, her eyes brimming with tears. Xiaofa knew that brief moment had scared her. "It's all right. I'm here. Everything's fine." By the time Xiaofa turned back to look, the jeep had already disappeared down the road. All because of a single remark from Tangding, Xiaofa couldn't shake the worry for Aunt Qi's health. On a Friday afternoon, Xiao Fei finished her errands early and decided to stop by Aunt Qie's house, hoping to take her into the city for a health check. From a distance, she heard loud noises and shouting. As Xiao Fei got out of the car, she saw the village chief and his two sons holding hose, trying to rush into Aunt Qie's yard, while Aunt Qie stood firmly in front of the door. "What's going on?" Xiao Fei squeezed into the crowd of onlookers, protecting Aunt Qie behind her. "What's the matter? Village chief, are you looking for a fight?" "Comrade Fei, you're just in time. You can help mediate," the village chief said, his face flushed and neck swollen with anger, hands on his hips, pointing inside the yard. "That little brat is truly out of control. It's one thing to mess with our vegetable patch every day, but today she even put rat poison in our food. Is she trying to kill our whole family?" "Just because she has a bit of money doesn't mean she can act so arrogantly," the village chief's eldest son jumped up, cursing. "You ugly freak, you're nothing but a worthless piece of trash." Aunt Qie bowed and apologized. Xiao Song doesn't understand. "Please don't take it personally." Just then, a girl burst out of the house, around 13 or 14 years old, dressed in a riot of colors, as if she had rolled in paint. With long bangs covering half her face, she flipped the village chief's family the middle finger, shouting, "You guys are the ugly ones. Come on, I'm not afraid of you." The village chief was so furious his eyes nearly rolled back in his head, while the village chief's wife sat on the doorstep of Aunt Qie's house, crying and wailing. "This little demon from the city is trying to kill us. Police, you need to help us." The situation was chaotic. After much effort, Xiao Fei finally managed to persuade the village chief and his family to go home. Breathing heavily, she listened to their account of the situation. "This little demon causes trouble every day. Comrade Fei, you have to take her away," the village chief lamented. Since Xiao Song arrived, she had either blared music at night, keeping the whole neighborhood awake, or pulled up the beans and tomatoes from the village chief's rooftop garden. Today, the village chief's wife had even discovered her sneaking into their kitchen with a packet of rat poison in hand. "She's clearly trying to poison our family. That little bastard with no parents," the village chief's wife said. She added that when Xiao Song was just sent back, she had kindly taken a box of pastries to visit Aunt Qie. As soon as she entered, she ran into Xiao Song and was so startled by her scarred face that she almost wet her pants, crying out in fear. I was scared too. I apologized afterward. But that girl is so vindictive. She just won't let it go and keeps trying to get back at us, even wanting to take our lives. The village chief's wife rambled on without stopping. When Xiao Fei left the village chief's house, she saw Aunt Chi-Er standing at her own door, holding a bag of eggs. Are you feeling better? Should I go in and apologize again? Aunt Chi-Er asked softly, her gray hair falling loose at the temples as she tried to gauge the village chief's family's reactions. It's fine, it's fine. Xiao Fei placed Aunt Chi-Er's bag of eggs at the village chief's door and pulled her back home. What's going on? Why is Xiao Tsong back? What happened to her face? Aunt Chi-Er wiped her eyes and explained that not long after Xiao Fei took Tang Tang away, Xiao Tsong was left at her doorstep. The person who brought her didn't say much, just gave Aunt Chi-Er a lot of money and asked her to look after Xiao Tsong for a few days. They even left me this, Aunt Chi-Er said, opening a cabinet and pulling out a phone. Xiao Tsong's mother would video call Aunt Chi-Er every day to check on Xiao Tsong's situation. Looking at her, it seems she's not having an easy time either. She cries every time. Sending Xiao Tsong to me was probably a last resort. How is sending her to you any help? Stop it, just stop, Aunt Chi-Er urged, asking Xiao Fei to lower her voice. As Xiao Fei was leaving, Xiao Tsong leaned against the doorframe, looking at her with a sinister glare. Provocatively revealing half of her scarred face, she smeared the chewing gum in her mouth onto the bright red couplets hanging by the door.